Hello, I'm Tony Troetlin, and I'm the Director of Finance for the City of Coralville, and we're currently commencing the budget process for fiscal year 2019. I'm pleased to be here today with you to discuss the proposed budget for the City of Coralville for the upcoming year, which is, in a sense, a working plan for the city's operations, services, and projects for the coming year. A great deal of work goes into creating a budget, which is that kind of a plan on the part of department heads, elected officials, city administration, and finance personnel. Today I will walk through with you the budget presentation given during the City Council meeting held on the evening of January 23rd. If you have questions or input on the budget for the upcoming year, there are several opportunities to get information, to get answers to those questions, and provide input. At the end of this presentation, there will be a listing of the dates those opportunities occur. And as always, if you have questions or concerns, don't hesitate to contact us at City Hall. Thanks for your focus on the budget and for viewing this presentation. The City of Coralville fiscal year 2019 runs from July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. The budget highlights, goals, and challenges are that the proposed property tax rate remains unchanged for the 9th consecutive year at just under 13.53 cents per thousand of taxable value. A sewer rate increase is proposed to fund future citizen needs, and a stormwater rate increase is proposed to fund operations of the stormwater enterprise and projects inside that enterprise as well. The goals of the budget include to pass a balanced budget, maintain the property tax rate, and maintain sufficient fund balances, all while providing high-quality public services. The usual challenges are generally rising costs, provision of services at economical costs, and planning for future needs. Taxable property in Iowa is categorized into classes, each with varying taxing procedures: residential, multi-residential, commercial, industrial, etc. There are growth limitations imposed on several of those classes to eliminate dramatic tax shifts between the classes, and those limitations are implemented via what's called a rollback or a growth limitation. The rollback for each of those classes of property for both fiscal 18, in which we are currently, and fiscal year 19, the year we're budgeting for, are shown on this slide. As you can see, the residential rollback went down slightly. The multi-residential rollback went down to a greater degree. Commercial, industrial, those both stayed the same, and ag property went up. The impact of the rollback to residential property is shown on this slide. So if you have a residential property assessed at $100,000 and where the assessed value does not change in FY19 versus its value in FY18, the taxable value would decrease, given the decrease in the rollback, by $1,313. Then the tax rate, if it's maintained, as this budget proposes, at the same rate, would cause a property tax decrease for that property owner of $17.83. Commercial properties rollback has not changed, so the property tax paid on a commercial parcel that has not changed value in FY19 versus FY18 would be the same. Back in 2013, the state legislature passed commercial property tax reform, and that changed the way commercial and industrial property taxes are assessed and paid, and provided for what's often called a backfill or replacement payments to local governments to keep them whole, to prevent, in theory, reductions to services or increases in tax rates to replace or deal with the change in revenue due to commercial and industrial rollback increases. Those rollback replacement funds help fund a lot of things that are paid for out of the general fund: police, fire, park and rec type uses, some things paid out of the debt service fund, the various TIF funds of the city, and the employee benefits fund. Let's take a look at the city property tax levy. The components of the city's property tax levy are essentially 5 components: general fund, tort liability, so think insurance, public transit, trust and agency, think employee benefits or HR costs, and debt service. Each of these is a separate levy. And this slide contains descriptions of some of those levies. And some levies are limited as to rate, some are limited as to use, and some are limited in both manners. And you can read a little bit about those various levies if you click on this presentation and flip to this page. The proposed city property tax levy rates are shown here, with the total at the bottom, you'll note, remaining the same between FY 18 and 19. The composition moved around a little bit, but essentially all in, the tax rate is the same. The total property tax levy rate for a citizen in Coralville is shown on this slide. And it utilizes FY 19 proposed tax rate for the city of Coralville and the actual FY 18 rates for the other taxing bodies. And the reason for that is nobody has finalized their tax rates at this point. So this is the best information we can utilize at this point in the process. You'll see the city of Coralville, its levy highlighted in the second row in blue. We chose to show the Iowa City Community School District. Coralville residents go to one of 2 public schools, so this tax bill would look different if it was for a Clear Creek Amana property. And it shows the various tax rates for the various entities that receive property tax revenues from your tax bill. You'll see the total property tax rate of approximately $35.86. And on the next slide, you'll see a pie chart that indicates the proportion. It's the same proportions as in the tax rates, but it's just sort of in a different format. So you'll see the city of Coralville and the Iowa City Community School District each represent a little more than 1/3 of your tax bill, with the county and others making up the remainder. So let's take a little bit of a look at the general fund, the city's chief operating fund. There are several revenue sources for the general fund: property and hotel motel taxes, licenses or permits, use of money or property, so that would be interest or rental of real property, intergovernmental payments, so grants from the federal government or from the state, 28E agreements between the city and other governments for the payment for services or for funding, charges for services like rec programs, and other financing sources. The estimated general fund revenues for fiscal year 2019 are $27,484,029, significantly up from FY 18, almost 20%, largely due to the mall TIF release. And we'll talk about that in a moment. This revenue goes within the general fund to support public safety, health and social services, culture and recreational offerings, community development, economic development, general governmental costs, and provision for contingencies. The general fund revenue sources are outlined on this page. As you can see, property tax and excise taxes are the largest source, followed up by other financing sources and charges for services, hotel motel tax, and some additional. Each department that operates within the general fund formulates its own departmental budget, which is then reviewed by administration and the City Council, and then approved by the City Council. Park and Rec, police, fire, animal control, library, museum, cultural expenditures rank at the top of this list proportionally. So let's talk a little bit about the mall TIF release. You've probably heard a lot about TIF if you live in Coralville. There's always been a lot of discussion of TIF in the area and really statewide on the general topic of TIF and its use. Large portions of the mall TIF will release funds in FY19 to both Coralville and other local area governments. For Coralville, this means an increase in general fund revenues and resources, a decrease in revenues going to the combined Mall Highway 6 TIF fund. This release, so in other words, the increase in the general fund resources and the decrease to the TIF fund, has been a known event that we've been planning for quite some time, really ever since the TIF was formed. And it is also baked into the debt repayment plans and terms of the various city obligations. For the other local governments in our area, they'll see an increase in their property tax revenues due to this release. Let's talk about some of the special revenue funds at the city. Special revenue funds being funds that have restrictions on their use, the use of their funds. There's the road use tax or street fund. State road use tax is allocated to cities by the state of Iowa based on census population. The city of Coralville, in the last official census, had 18,907 persons, and the state DOT, Department of Transportation, estimates that the amount distributed per capita across the state will be $121.50 in FY19. So the estimated revenues for the street fund are $2,297,201. Those revenues are used in the following manner: for roadway maintenance, street lighting, traffic safety, as detailed on this page. You'll see that the total of $3.33 million is greater than the road use tax funding projection that we just discussed on the prior page. That's because we are budgeting and projecting to use for projects and equipment, reserves, and grant money. There are enterprise funds at the city as well, and those are business type enterprises. We are requesting and proposing no change in the rate structure or user fees for public transit, water, solid waste, or parking. But we are proposing a rate increase for the Sewer Enterprise Fund to pay for planned improvements to the main plant to accommodate growth for the next 20 years, and a proposed rate increase for stormwater to pay for both the operation and maintenance of the stormwater pump stations that help prevent flooding in the city, and for stormwater projects and improvements. The sewer rate change that's proposed is both to the minimum bill and the volume charge. So the minimum would go from $11.15 a month to $12.50 per month, and the volume charge based on metered water usage would change from $3.60 to $4 per 100 cubic feet. So the bar chart below on this slide shows for a typical 3-bedroom house in Coralville, kind of an industry average that's utilized frequently for this type of comparison, the change that would occur to the monthly bill for that household. Regarding the stormwater proposed rate change, there is no change in the proposed rate for residential customers. There is, however, a proposed rate increase for commercial customers. The current rate formula for those customers is $3 plus 75 cents per ERU. An ERU is equivalent residential unit, and is 3,440 square feet of impervious surface on their property. So the proposed rate formula would be $3 per month plus $1.40 per ERU. The purpose of the proposed rate increase is to fund operation and maintenance costs for stormwater pump stations and to fund stormwater projects and improvements. This slide contains an overview of the various enterprise funds. And generally, as you might expect, revenues are greater than expenditures or transfers out. For those funds where that's not the case in this year's proposed budget, which are wastewater, solid waste, and transit, and the Marriott Hotel and Convention Center operations, there are notes at the bottom of this slide. So for wastewater, the city is increasing rates and saving funds for a wastewater treatment plant project expected to be finalized and to be have its final funding in place in fiscal year 2021. For the other enterprise funds that have an asterisk or a double asterisk, the difference in expenditures versus revenues is due to the expenditure of reserve funds or grant funds on projects or equipment. Some of the capital projects that the city is undertaking or funding during fiscal year 19 are listed on this slide. So we have the First Avenue improvements between 6th and 9th Street. This is the final section of First Avenue that needs to be improved south of the interstate. We have the Coral Ridge Avenue improvements, so north of Oakdale, south of Forever Green. And this is the final section for that avenue that needs to be improved. We have a water plant expansion, the funding for which and the construction of which will be finalized in fiscal year 2019. And we have a wastewater plant renovation and expansion. And that wastewater or sewer plant project is expected to be bid and construction commence during FY 18 and 19, and final construction completing in FY 21, and final financing issued in that same year. Regarding the timing of this process and obtaining additional information and getting questions answered, we have the Connection magazine scheduled to appear very soon, early February, on the Coralville.org website and in mailboxes throughout the community. On February 13th at 6:30 p.m., there will be a public hearing at the council meeting on this budget proposal. On February 27th, the City Council expects to adopt the final budget, and then it will be filed with the auditor and the state on or prior to March 15th. It'll become effective July 1st, 2018, and run through June 30th, 2019. An overview of this budget is available at coralville.org/finance/budget, or physically at City Hall or at the Coralville Public Library, again in the Connection magazine, and on Coral Vision, Analog Channel 5. At this point in the presentation, I'd like to just say thank you to the citizens of Coralville, the city staff and employees, department heads, city administration, and the mayor and city council for all their focus on and work in evaluating and formulating this budget proposal. If you have questions or you'd like to have a discussion about this budget proposal, again, please attend the events, look online, or give us a call or email at City Hall. Thank you very much.